Good morning, everybody. My name is Adit Patel. I'm one of the founders and CEO of Blockscope. And today we're going to be walking through how we can decode on-chain hacks, trace those funds, and monitor the bad actors and stolen funds on the blockchain. What is Blockscope? We're a crypto forensics, analytics, and investigation platform for the public sector use cases. Before we look into that though, let's dive deeper into the current state of crypto. Cryptocurrency and Web3 has grown into a multi-trillion dollar sector with global reach. Crypto is used by millions of people every day with a large range of activities from legitimate to illegal. Millions of people use cryptocurrencies for economic transactions, international remittance, and also trading. It's also used for money laundering, powering crime, payments on the dark web. In response, the government and government agencies worldwide have taken a step to integrate new crypto focused technologies to strengthen their internal capabilities. And there's a few specific use cases. One is to combat fraud and hacks, the other is to enforce tax laws and better track movements of funds on the blockchain across blockchains and into centralized databases. I want to address three misconceptions today and focus on one takeaway. First misconception is blockchain obfuscates data. The blockchain is a public data set with a ton of insightful user behavior analytics. There's no real use cases. This is also a common misconception. With more institutional adoption today than ever before, there is many new experiments on different types of financial instruments, financial markets, derivatives, and consumer applications that can be built on the blockchain. And then the last misconception is crypto enables money laundering and fraud. And this is true with a caveat. It's actually more transparent than ever to see what users are doing on the blockchain. And so you could trace bad behaviors. Users leave a trail of breadcrumbs, and because the data is public, it is a gold mine for cybersecurity teams. And that's the key takeaway I want to focus on today. So what is Blockscope? As I mentioned, Blockscope is a security platform built for regulators and cybercrime teams to prevent, fight, and monitor crypto fraud. Our key insight, though, is that Web3 and cryptocurrencies and the blockchain is very technical. And for the average regulator or user to use it, it needs to be extremely user-friendly. And that's what we focus on when building out our product. So what's our philosophy when it comes to investigating on-chain activity? Well, we know it's complex, and to fight that complexity, we've simplified our tools where there's three core principles. One, everything should be as simple as point, click, copy, paste, and search. Nothing should require user to do more than that. Two, the tools should interact with each other to create actionable stories and compound insights. And three, the user flow for each tool is you search for something that exists on the blockchain, you get that data, we do the work in decoding that information, and then you can analyze and investigate it further, finally being able to understand and take actions with your newly gained insights. So let's do a real investigation right now. We are going to use different Blockscope tools to investigate a flash loan attack. Now, what is a flash loan attack? This is a form of on-chain transaction attack where a technical expert writes a program called a smart contract to perform arbitrage really quickly across decentralized protocols, enabling them to walk away with a ton of money. Today, we're going to take a look at the initial transaction, decode that information. We'll trace the stolen funds. We'll check if those stolen funds still exist somewhere on the chain, and then we'll monitor those funds and the bad actors in real time. So first of all, to start the investigation, we need to have an entry point. often this comes in the form of a public announcement where like somebody on Twitter or in an article points out a hack with the associated transactions and wallet addresses. Wallet addresses are basically the user's identity on the blockchain. We will start with a transaction that has been involved in a flash loan attack. And right away, we copy paste that transaction hash in the tool that you see up top. We press search, and we're able to show you how much we've been able to decode. And you can see we've been able to decode most of the functions involved in this program, most of the events that were emitted by this on-chain program, and all the accounts. Accounts are other users or other programs that this transaction interacted with. You can see in the bottom, it's kind of small, that there were 44 unique accounts that were involved in this hack. We then take a further look at the top addresses, and all of this is just data that comes after being able to press search and you do no other work. We can see that the top accounts that were used were the smart contracts for Bitcoin, wrapped Bitcoin, and wrapped Ether. And there's 5 other accounts with the green icon that denotes a smart contract. Again, smart contract means blockchain programs. And you can see the person was trying to interact with a lot of tokens, kind of pointing towards, hey, they're trying to swap a lot of tokens or do something with different types of currencies. Then we take a look at something called trace calls. This is what are the types of functions that we've hit. And once you have looked into the space for long enough, you'll learn about a thing called the self-destruct function call. This is often triggered by a program to hide their tracks, but they don't hide the fact that they actually have done the self-destruct function call. So this is usually the first red flag that goes off, telling us we need to investigate and look into this a bit further. A little breakdown into the different types of functions and events that were emitted by the attack smart contract. You could see there's Kyber trade that was used once. Kyber trade is a popular token swapping protocol. And then a bunch of other functions and transaction calls that were made, such as transfers, mints, borrows. All of this denotes the different types of actions the smart contract took while performing this hack. We even go ahead and break down the 44 addresses that we know are involved, and we show you the identities. All the green nodes denote all the identities we were able to identify, and the orange and the red nodes show accounts we weren't able to identify. These could be other smart programs or smart contracts or smart programs, and the actual user that triggered the transaction denoted in the red. This is a really high-level view, but we could break it down further to actually trace the funds. Somewhere in this transaction, funds were stolen and moved into an account that the user controls. And in the next step, you could see we've been able to filter those transactions down to just the token transfers that happen on the blockchain. So filtering these interactions lets us trace the stolen funds to one particular account, the one at the very bottom right of the page. Now that we know this information, we could take further action. This is the end of our transaction decoder tool, but we'll move on to our next tool called Tracer, where you could trace where funds came into this account that stole money and where they're going. So from the transaction itself, we were able to tell that 65 Ethereum were moved out of that account and into the stolen wallet, or the wallet that belongs to the person who ran the flash loan attack. And then from there, they were split and moved into 2 spots. 50 Ether went into Kyber swap, again, to trade the Ethereum for some other token. And the remainder went into another contract that has actually been used to exploit additional on-chain users. And that's why there's a label that our platform has identified as BZX exploiter. Further expanding this view, we're able to actually find repeat we're able to find repeat behavior. So what this graph denotes is that this account has actually done many different exploits, and in one of them, they moved 962 Ethereum. That is worth over $2 million today. And we would not have been able to understand or see this data looking at blockchain data in its raw format, but it required a whole layer of tooling on top to aggregate different transactions over time, group them, trace where funds are moving to actually denote this visual. But each item, each transfer can be traced back to an individual or sum of transactions that happen on the blockchain. So what's the next step? Now that we've identified that this is a repeat behavior by this wallet that exploits on-chain protocol, well, we want to find out who this person is or who this organization is. And usually there's two easy ways. One, to find the on-ramp or the off-ramp that was used to fund the initial account. First, let's just see if they still hold the funds. So we go to our next tool called Wallet Profiler and search that wallet address of the user who initiated the transaction for the flash loan attack, and we can see that today they're still holding over $2 million worth of USD. Next, we want to, as I said, identify any on-ramps or off-ramps, any interactions with entities that have KYC requirements. So like if Coinbase is used or Index is used or Binance is used, they often have KYC requirements that basically that entity knows that who this person is. Looking at the transactions, it's kind of small, but at the very bottom we can see that they moved funds in through an account that was first funded through a mixer called Tornado Cash. This further doubles down and tells us that this is a bad actor. Tornado Cash is a protocol that's on the on the U.S. sanction list, OFAC sanction list. And the fact that they're trying to hide their tracks means this person knew what they were trying to do, and we've been able to basically trace them back to where they moved the funds. We could go back to the previous view and see which account, it's kind of cut off, but which account funded the Tornado Cash movement. But right now, that's not the focus. Let's just see what else we can identify from looking at their wallets. We know that they currently hold the $2 million. Well, if they ever want to do anything with those funds, they'll have to move that out of the wallet. So what we'll do to counter this is we'll set up real-time monitoring. So if they ever move any of the $2 million that were stolen, we'll be alerted within 3 seconds of it happening on the blockchain. And so all we have to do is copy paste their address that we identified, press monitor all interactions, and just like that, we've enabled real-time monitoring for this user. If they ever decide to move funds to a centralized exchange that has KYC requirements, we'll be able to figure out who this is. So if they ever try to convert to fiat, they won't be able to, or as a law enforcement agency, we'll see that they did that and we can approach the centralized exchange. Or if they even try to do on-chain transactions, we could reach out to protocols and be like, do not enable this wallet to send funds. There are protocols on the blockchain that blacklist specific wallets to prevent them from doing anything with the stolen funds. So just a quick recap. We were able to decode the initial transaction, trace the stolen funds, check if the wallet still had those funds, and then set up real-time monitoring, all through a different set of on-chain tools. There are many different use cases besides the ones that I just explored. We could monitor specific contracts. So contracts are just full on-chain programs. We could monitor wallets as we saw. We could analyze full entities and identify associated wallets that belong to those entities. We could set up security around your own wallet. So if somebody interacts with you that has been labeled as a bad actor in the past, we'll be able to alert. You can set up risk rules that you want to monitor. The point is, with the right tools, blockchain data can be used to form invaluable insights, including fighting cybercrime. feel free to reach out to me at my email, or we have a booth right in front of the main stage. Feel free to stop by. But thank you so much for taking your time.